Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the March virtual open house session on admissions to the Faculty of Mathematics. My name is Meg McClellan, and I'm the Director of Undergrad Recruitment and International for the Faculty of Math. I'm excited to be hosting this session for you all today, and I'm lucky enough to be joined by Dr. Troy Visiga, who is the Associate Dean for our Undergrad Admissions and Outreach Department. Welcome, Troy. Why don't you take a little bit of time and introduce yourself?
Great, thanks, Meg. As you've mentioned, I am the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Admission and Outreach, and so that means I oversee the admission and scholarship decisions for incoming students. I'm also involved in many of the outreach activities for the faculty and kind of oversee how we kind of have a public face to attract students to think about mathematics or even mathematics at Waterloo. When I'm not doing Associate Dean things, I'm a lecturer in the David R. Cheriton School of Computer Science. So I teach mostly first and second year computer science courses. And it may be the case that if you are admitted that I end up teaching your particular computer science course that you take in your first year. Outside of that, I am the co-leader of the Canadian Computing Competition, which also leads to the Canadian Computing Olympiad and the International Olympiad in Informatics. And I'm also the co-coach of the University of Waterloo International Collegiate Programming Competition Team, which is a university level competition where the University of Waterloo students compete against other institutions around the world like MIT and Tsinghua and St. Petersburg State University in a computing competition.
Perfect. And Troy also happens to be my boss. So we hope this session goes well today. Thanks again for joining us today, Troy. I have a feeling this session will be really popular. So for this session, we've selected our most important and our most frequently asked questions to discuss. And so for those of you that are watching at home, please feel free to enter any questions that you may have in the Q&A box. We have a team of colleagues from the admissions and recruitment team who are ready to answer those for you. First question, can you describe where we are in the admission cycle at this point?
Okay, so applications closed in early February. So applications for fall 21 admissions. So if you're interested in applying in a later year, those admissions will open up probably in September or October of 2021. But if you were applying for fall 2021 admissions, those applications closed in early February, and we're not accepting any late applications. We received over 18,000 applications for our programs. So we are very competitive faculty. Those 18,000 applications are currently being reviewed. We're reading AIFs, and those applications, out of those, we're going to try to fill 1,280 spots. So that's how competitive we are. We might make, well, certainly we are going to make more than 1,280 offers, but for all intents and purposes, we'd like to have the incoming class be 1,280 students as of September 2021.
Troy, you mentioned the admissions committee. What are the key things you and the admissions committee are looking for while reviewing applications?
Yeah, there's three main things we're looking at, two of which are kind of crucial and one of which is important. The two crucial ones are your academic performance, meaning really strong grades, and in particular, really strong grades in your required math courses and your required English course. So do well in your courses. That's number one. Number two, do well on your admission information form, your AIF. Your AIF describes what it is you do outside of the classroom. Hopefully you've taken some time and thought about, well, I do this. You've composed your thoughts in a really clear and concise way. We want to understand what it is you do outside of the classroom and outside of homework. How are you involved in your community? What kind of sports or extracurricular activities are you involved in? Music, volunteerism, those sorts of things. We want to get a sense of how you spend your time when you don't have to do schoolwork. So your AIF is also heavily weighted in terms of your admission decisions. The third thing, which is not required but is important, is the CMC math contests. So this is where you write either the Euclid or the Canadian Senior Mathematics Contest.
Perfect. So you mentioned the math contests. As you can imagine, we get a lot of questions about the math contests. And the contests really are a huge part of the culture here in math at Waterloo. Let's talk about the grade 12 Euclid and the Canadian Senior Math Contests. How are they used? Is it required for admission? Is it required for scholarships? maybe dispel some myths for us.
Sure. So let me just say that the Euclid and the CSMC are two contests run by the Center for Education in Mathematics and Computing, which is kind of a unit within the Faculty of Mathematics. So they run all kinds of math competitions from grade 7 all the way to grade 12. They run the Beaver Computing Challenge. So these are just two of the contests. So hopefully you've had an opportunity to write some of the other contests while you were a high school student. But the CSMC, which was written in November, and the Euclid, which is going to be written in April, are two contests that we look for in terms of admission. Now, they are not required for you to write in terms of being admitted. Many students are admitted to the Faculty of Mathematics without ever having written the Euclid or the CSMC, so they are not required. However, if you do well on them, we will notice that, and that will improve your chances of being admitted. That is, if you score very high on the CSMC or on the Euclid, that tells us that you are mathematically strong, and we would weight your application heavier than a student who didn't write them at all. As from some of the numbers that we saw earlier, you know that there's lots of students applying for relatively few spots. So in some ways, we might need to break ties. You have the same average and same AIF as another student, but you wrote the Euclid. I'm going to consider you as a stronger student than the other student. So it cannot hurt your application. You do need to write the CSMC or the Euclid if you would like to be considered for entrance scholarships to the Faculty of Mathematics. These two competitions kind of give us an equal way to evaluate your mathematical knowledge. Hopefully you have written the CSMC in November, and hopefully you signed up for the Euclid in April. There was a reminder email sent out to you. So because the Euclid registration is closed, hopefully you have already signed up and registered for that competition.
Okay, switching gears a little bit, Troy, can you tell me about some of the policies that the Faculty of Mathematics Admission Committee has regarding the required courses that you mentioned a little bit earlier?
Sure, yeah. So just to refresh your memory, there are 3 required courses are the advanced functions. So there's 2 math courses, advanced functions and vectors and calculus, and as well as English. So 2 math and 1 English course. Those are the 3 required courses. You also need 3 other courses that can be any particular course that you're interested in. If you have required courses that we won't have grades for by mid-April, that is, maybe you took a course in your last semester or your last octomester or last quadmester, we may not get those grades. That's okay. I mean, ideally you took those courses earlier in the year, but we understand that that might not have been possible. So what we're going to do is we're going to substitute in your grade 11 marks for those as being viewed as equivalent, and then make admissions decisions based on those grade 11 marks plugged in. This hopefully kind of levels the playing field. It kind of keeps information as up to date as possible, rather than leaving them blank and waiting for your marks in June. We need to make our admission decisions by early May. This hopefully keeps everything kind of fair and flexible at the same time. Now, many of you might have repeated courses because of a variety of reasons. Maybe you felt like you didn't learn the material when school was kind of postponed or went online entirely in March of 2020. So we encourage students to only repeat courses, to do courses only once without repeating them. However, in this particular year, that if you repeat a course that you took between January and June 2020, and then you retook it later at your regular day school, you're not going to be penalized for that particular course. Okay, but in other circumstances, if you repeat a course, that may jeopardize your admission because we would penalize you on that repeated course.
Perfect. Thanks, Troy. Troy, do you just maybe want to mention as well that the required courses you were referring to is specifically for the Ontario curriculum?
That's right. Sorry. Yes. So the MCV, the calculus and vectors and the advanced function courses, that's for Ontario students. Hopefully in other provinces or jurisdictions or other countries, there are other equivalent calculus courses and English courses that kind of correspond to those 3. But yeah, I'm kind of looking at the Ontario specific perspective.
Yeah, but the principle's the same, right?
Yeah,
Out of province
exactly.
or out of country, if there's a required course that you're currently enrolled in, but we don't have a grade for you, we'll look to the grade 11 equivalent.
Exactly.
There.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, Troy, this question our team is starting to receive quite a bit. When can students expect to receive a decision on their application?
Okay, so we try to make admission decisions based on as much good information as we can get. And so in order to do this, we kind of have to wait until we get as many grades in as possible, and also after the Euclid is written. So we make most of our admission decisions in mid-May. So we may make a few earlier decisions based on national and global scholarship applications. So if you receive one of those scholarships, you'll also get an offer of admission, but that's very few students. The vast majority of students are going to get their admission decision in mid-May. We also, as I mentioned, we want to make those scholarship decisions for the entrance scholarships, which are based on the Euclid math competition and the CSMC. We're going to make those after we've graded the Euclid, which won't happen until early May. So you're going to hear from us most likely in mid-May.
Perfect. And we're worth the wait, right, Troy?
Exactly.
Okay, the next question here. Can you tell the audience a little bit about alternate offers? What are they and how do they work and why do we do them?
Yeah, so as you might remember from some of the earlier numbers I mentioned, we had over 18,000 applicants for 1,280 spots. So not every applicant is going to be given an offer or even an offer to the program that they applied to. So because of our competitive nature and because of such a high number of applicants to spots, we do make alternative offers. So if you are an academically strong student who applied to a particular program but don't meet the cutoff to that program, we will consider you for other programs and you may receive an alternate offer. So for example, perhaps you applied to the computer science double degree program. And that has a very high admission average because it's a relatively small incoming number of students, and you didn't meet the cutoff for that. We will consider you for computer science. Similarly, you apply to the math double degree program, we'll consider you for the math business program or for the math honors program. So that is, if you've applied to the program but don't meet that cutoff, we will consider you for other programs. Now, what does that mean in terms of what you do with that? Well, remember that you're getting an offer from the Faculty of Mathematics. And in order to even get that offer, even if it's an alternate offer, you must have met a very high academic bar. And so we do want you to come to the Faculty of Mathematics. So you should think strongly about accepting that offer. We're going to host webinars for those students who are given alternate offers in order to kind of have an opportunity for them to ask questions of Meg and her team to get more information about that. But if you're given an alternate offer, remember that there's not a lot of those alternate offers, and you must have been viewed in our eyes as a very strong student. So you should strongly consider accepting that offer.
Thank you, Troy. That's helpful. Okay, so right now in the cycle in March can be a very anxious time for applicants because they might have applied back in the fall, maybe October, November timeline, and they've submitted everything, they've participated, or they've registered for the Euclid, but they're anxious because they haven't heard from us. So what can students do to learn more or have their questions answered while they wait for their next steps? What do you recommend for them?
For sure. So if you have a particular question, the mathinfo@urlu.ca email address is always open, so you can send an email there wondering about, you have a question about what elective to pick, or what does this particular major mean, or what can I do after second year in this? Ask any of those kind of questions to mathinfo@urlu.ca. We also have one-on-one meetings available with our recruitment representatives, and we give the link in our kind of slide that you should be seeing now. You can set up one-on-one meetings to actually talk through things and have a bit more of a back and forth with one of the recruitment reps. Make sure you work really hard on your courses. The material that you're learning in the last 3 or 4 months of school is important. We're going to assume you know it if you arrive here in September. So do well in your courses. In particular, if you're admitted, you need to have a minimum average in order to get in. Make sure you meet that minimum average. Practice, practice, practice. So keep doing your math, keep working on your courses. And if you're writing the Euclid, the best way to do well in the Euclid math competition is to write other Euclid math competitions, meaning look at the last 10 or 15 years of the Euclid and do them. You can find all of those past Euclid competitions with solutions and explanations at CEMC support.uwaterloo.ca. And the last thing you need to do is just be patient. You've done everything you can do. You've filled out your AAF, you've submitted you're working on your courses, so your grades are taken care of. There's really nothing else that you can do. So it's now in kind of the control of the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Admission and Outreach to make those decisions.
Thanks, Troy. That's helpful. Okay, so say what happens after a student has been given an offer of admission?
So mostly I think students jump up and down and they scream and they run and they tell their parents. That's the
Yep.
first thing that happens.
That's a good first step.
That's a good first step. So do that, get that out of your system. And then right after that, you should accept your offer. So, okay, mom, dad, I got in, great. Okay, accept your offer next. The deadline to accept your offer is June 1st. So make sure you do that. Accept your offer as soon as you get it. That is my advice. Don't wait and think about it and think about it. If you're wondering whether or not you should take Waterloo's offer, take some time now over the next couple months and think about, what if I got an offer from Waterloo and this other university? What if I only got an offer from Waterloo? Think about what scenarios might play out and play them out in your head so that when you get your offer from Waterloo, you know what to do with it. When you also get your offer, there may be some conditions attached to that. As I mentioned earlier, there might be some average requirements. Perhaps you need to satisfy an English language proficiency test requirement. Submit those. There'll be deadlines for those. Make sure that your documents are in on time if we ask for particular documents. So check all of those conditions and what the deadlines are and make sure you meet those. As well, check your email to make sure that you're not missing any invitations for special webinars, events, or other deadlines like selecting your courses or those kinds of things. The deadlines are firm, so make sure that you actually meet those deadlines.
Yeah, it's really good advice. I like the check your email, and I'll say to applicants on the call, make sure you're checking your spam or your junk folder as well, in case, you know, we happen to be filtered out that way. I'll also just add, Troy, our recruitment team will be inviting you to some live student AMAs, Ask Me Anythings, where you can type or ask your questions of current students. We'll have informational webinars of your next step. So what happens after you accept your offer. And we're hoping to run some advice from first year professors on how to transition from, you know, grade 12 mathematics into your first year. So like Troy said, watch your email and make sure you're reading kind of the fine print too on your offer of admission. Okay, Troy, so next question, sort of along the same vein, but once you've given out offers, and you've alluded to this in your answer previously, but why seriously consider an offer to the Faculty of Mathematics at Waterloo in your mind?
So certainly Waterloo is kind of the predominant institution in Canada, if not North America, for mathematics and computer science. Certainly within Canada, there is no stronger school for math or computer science, and arguably it's in the top 1, 2, or 3 in North America. It is the world's largest center for education in math, computing, and statistics, and we have a huge number of programs, majors, and specializations. Looking at just, for example, our third-year major courses in computer science, which is an area that I am familiar with, we have more third-year computer science courses available than most universities have in their second, third, and fourth year combined. So that means we have a broad range and also very strong depth in those areas. If you're interested in some area of mathematics or computer science, there's probably a course in it and 2 subsequent courses that delve deeper and deeper into that particular area. Another really strong reason to think about Waterloo is the intellectual property policy of UW. When you come up with an idea, it is your own and you can monetize it however you wish. Now you might say, well, of course, isn't that how it always works? And that is not true. Lots of institutions, if you come up with an idea while you are a student there, you own half of the idea and the institution owns the other half. So that is, if you wanted to create your own company based on that idea, you would have to enter in a negotiation with the university. That's not true at the University of Waterloo. You own your intellectual property. Which is why if you ever got a chance to drive around the university, you'd see lots of startup and spin-off companies that are connected somehow through professors or grad students or undergrad students from the University of Waterloo that have kind of blossomed into larger companies. And kind of the last thing is really kind of employment and the co-op program here. The careers and jobs you get while you're an undergrad or after you finish your undergraduate degree are really top quality. So you can work anywhere you want to in the world, in any field, so long as you have your math and computer science solidly built, which is what you would get at Waterloo. There isn't an area that isn't untouched by math or computer science, whether that's insurance or aerospace or engineering design or statistics or any area needs math and computer science. And so if you want a strong, solid foundation in math and CS, you have to think about Waterloo as one of your top choices.
Okay. Troy, is it true? I know you just mentioned that we've got more third-year courses in CS compared to second, third, and fourth at other institutions. Is it true that Waterloo, in our faculty, we offer over 500 courses each year in math, stats, and computer science?
Exactly. Yeah. And you only need 40 courses to graduate. So we have 10 times the number of courses you could possibly take in your undergraduate career that you could possibly take. So if there is literally, if there's some particular sub area that you ever wanted to learn about, we probably teach at least one course in it.
Right. So lots of ways for students to sort of make their degree unique to them.
Exactly. In addition to that, also, students have the whole range of other faculties on campus. They can take minors in French or in other languages or study psychology or physics or chemistry. So basically, any of the other faculty courses are also available to them to kind of tailor the degree to focus on their interests or possible kind of employability things that they're thinking about.
For sure. Okay, Troy. This is coming up to our last official question here, but I think it goes without saying that this has been sort of a challenging year for everyone around the world with the global pandemic. I was hoping that you could speak to what the Faculty of Math is doing to ensure that students studying with us, whether it's online or in classroom, are still welcomed into our community and they're ready to be successful.
Sure. So the first thing, that kind of word you said, ready, we have this program called Waterloo Ready, which is run out of the Student Success Office, which is kind of a university-wide program, but it kind of offers the kind of smoother transition and kind of question and answers and kind of guidance for students that actually that are coming to Waterloo in the fall. Waterloo Math specifically, we have this new course we created called Metho 199, which is a first-year readiness course. So perhaps you took all of your required courses very early on in your first octomester, for example. So it'll be almost 12 months from when you last had to do anything related to calculus. In order to help you get ready for September, we have Metho 199, which is offered in August. Every student has the opportunity to take this course. It's all done online. You can finish it within a day or two if you understand the material really well, or you can take a longer amount of time to do that. Really, that's kind of meant to get you back up to speed with your mathematical skills. So to get you ready for your first year courses. So Metho 199 is one kind of new initiative based on the kind of back and forth virtual in-class, virtual kind of flip-flop that students have had to do over the last 18 months. We also have our first year seminar series to kind of get students up to speed and kind of fill in a little bit about how to study, to think about how is it that they should work or time management, those kinds of things. We have a virtual tutorial center where undergraduate students can help you work through problems if you have academic questions. We also have counseling and academic advisors to help you through kind of course selection or personal issues that you might be arising in school. We also have one-to-one peer success coaching available. There's all kinds of clubs and activities that are available even virtually. So really, the community of Waterloo is kind of there to help you succeed. You worked extremely hard to get into the university, and once you arrive, we want to work hard to make sure that you have a good time when you arrive.
Well, thank you for that, Troy. That was my last question for the day, and I know all of this information will be very valuable for those tuning in. Thank you to the audience watching from home today. And if you have any further questions that maybe my colleagues didn't get to, but Please feel free to visit our admissions, the Ask the Expert session in the math booth, and our admissions rep and our admissions team would be happy to help answer those for you. I would also, I'm just going to do a quick plug here, but I would encourage you to check out what I think is a great session. It's the live Q&A sessions with our current math students. And there's many other helpful sessions happening throughout the day. So I would encourage you to take part in some of those and really get an opportunity to speak with current students and their perspective on studying math at Waterloo. You'll see ways to stay connected with us on your screen. You can follow us on social media, or as Troy mentioned earlier, you can connect with our team directly by email at mathinfo@uwaterloo.ca or the future-ugrad@cs.uwaterloo.ca. We have a team that are here and wanting to help answer the questions that you have throughout the admission cycle. So please feel free to get in touch with us. Troy, thanks for sharing your knowledge today. And for those of you at home, thanks for tuning in and joining us today. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everybody. Good luck.
Thanks, Troy.